Listen up or run for cover. Dropping knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Bradley is dropping
What it is, Bradley back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, I've got a freaking badass that apparently runs across the country on a regular basis. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. If you haven't, you soon will. Welcome at Charlie Rocket.
False information, Brad. False information.
You're like a Forrest Gump.
No,
running from coast to coast and shit.
I bite, Brad. I bite.
So at Charlie is his Instagram handle. I don't know how you pulled that one off.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I super believe in the law of attraction, like on a whole another level. And earlier we were talking about how I was vegan. And you have a few employees here in the office, and your daughter.
You are vegan.
I am vegan.
You said was.
All right. I was and I am. So it wasn't exactly false, because in the past I was vegan, but I still am. And when I went vegan, I started eating live foods, and it was like, I called it high frequency foods. And my radar, my sense of attraction just got stronger. And I started studying quantum physics and how does this whole energy thing work. And I was able to attract things way easier when I ate living things. And I told my friend, I said, I want to run for president 2032. And I want to run on a first name basis. Like Oprah. Like that was my vision.
So like we just going to vote for Charlie.
Charlie. That's just a nice American name. Charlie. And a week later, I woke up to a DM from an employee who works at Instagram. And she said, love what you're doing. I'm so inspired. We've been holding on to this deactivated name for a while, and I just want to give it to you. And I called my friend. I said, that whole first name thing might be true, because Instagram just gave me the name at Charlie. And it's just been things like that coming into my life.
Well, that's freaking awesome.
So yeah, at Charlie.
I totally believe in law of attraction. You 100% believe in law of attraction.
Oh, I've got some stories to tell you.
Well, get to telling.
All right. So, I wanted to figure out how I was doing what I was doing. Because it was all these crazy things coming into my life. For example, I'm sitting there with my friend George. And I said, George, I want to work with Oprah. And he's like, oh.
Why Oprah?
I mean, if we talk about inspiration, she maybe is the most. There's two people, Oprah and Will Smith, maybe the two most inspirational people in the world, and I've been connected with both of them. But I told George, I want to work with Oprah. I just think her brand, everything she stands for, how she helps people and inspires people, and we're at this office. It's kind of like a WeWork type of thing, and this lady walks by. And George says, Anna, come over here. And George hasn't seen Anna in 15 years. And he says, Charlie, tell Anna your story. So I start telling her, I was 300 pounds. I used to manage 2 Chainz. And I reversed my brain tumor. And I retired from the music industry. And now I want to be an athlete. And she's just writing my story down in her notebook. And I said, what are you writing down? She said, well, I'm about to meet with Oprah's people in a few minutes. They love stories like this. And I looked at George. George, that was fast. Because he didn't know. And I ended up dropping her off at her meeting. And Oprah's producer of 25 years, Lisa Minor, is now on my team and is a partner of mine and produced my whole bike ride across America. And it just happened just like that.
Wow.
And the same thing happened with Nike.
Thank you.
I would write down in my Quantum Possibilities notebook. It's a notebook I write in every morning. And I said, I want to be in a Nike commercial. I want to be in a commercial with LeBron and Serena. Well, super far-fetched. If anybody's watching on camera, I am not exactly the typical athlete. I'm about 40 pounds overweight. But I was in a Nike commercial, maybe the most famous Nike commercial ever made. And with Colin Kaepernick.
What were you doing in it?
Well, they showed all these different stories of people who have big, crazy dreams. I was one of them. I was the guy in the commercial who lost the 130 pounds and completed an Ironman. They showed other people like Colin Kaepernick, a kid with no arms who's a wrestler, a gay skateboarder. So they showed all these people who aren't supposed to do things, but their dreams were so big that they did it.
Yeah.
And there's a crazy story about how the Nike thing came about as well, if you want to go into that. But there's a lot we can talk about.
Well, let's go back and talk about your story. Like,
Yeah.
what's the story?
The story is this, man. Growing up, I wanted to be an athlete. That was my dream. Is all I wanted. I believe dreams are a lot like solitaire on a Windows computer. It's just there. It's nothing you downloaded. And there's one truest dream that's in us. And for me, my truest dream was to be an athlete.
What kind?
Man, I loved basketball. Well, you can't tell me anything about basketball, Brad. I loved it, but I was the chubby kid. We would play shirts versus skins, and if I got chosen for shirts, I would drop out of the game. I would never take my shirt off at the beach. I was always conscious of my weight. So I buried my dream. I said, you know what, I need something to be good at. These guys over here, they're good at basketball. These guys can dance. I need something that I'm going to be good at. So I said, I'm going to be CEO Charlie. I'm going to change my name. I'm going to put on a suit. I'm going to get a briefcase. And I'm going to go to school every day. And I'm going to start businesses because back then, I'm just a kid. I'm 8 years old. But I thought being an entrepreneur was going to be cool. Today it is. Back then, not so much. But I became CEO Charlie. And I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. My mom sold vacuum cleaners.
Hotlanta.
Hotlanta, the home of hip hop. And that's when I got into high school, my friends started rapping and making music. And I said, Ma, this hip-hop thing is going to be big. And I'm trying to play her songs like Jay-Z and Pharrell. And she's like, yeah, I just don't get it. And I'm like, no, this is going to be the biggest thing. And fast forward to today, and I want to add this little note. In the third quarter of 2018, 70% of top 10 records in the country, hip-hop. And if you go onto Spotify, USA top 50 charts right now, 36 of the top 50 are hip-hop records today. Hip-hop did take over. But at the time, I'm telling my mom, and I said, I want to put a studio in my bedroom. And she said, I don't know about that. I said, nah, this going to be good. Boom, put the studio in there. Recorded on a $100 microphone, picked up a camera, started filming videos, built a website. Website started blowing up. I go off to community college, graduated from high school, going to community college, and I just got done paying for my books. And I got a phone call from Interscope Records. Hey, this is Brian Washington from Interscope Records. Is this Charlie? I said, yeah. Yeah, what's up? He said, we just signed this artist out of Mississippi, and he wants you to be his cameraman. But you're going to have to go on tour for the next 6 months. I said, man, I'm all for it. I'm standing at the college looking at this. I can't wait to leave. And the artist's name is Soulja Boy. I was like, oh, I know who Soulja Boy is. But I had to convince my mom to let me drop out of college. And she was always just like, Charlie, whatever all that little business stuff you do, that's fine and dandy. But just get your college degree. So I head on home, tell my mom, Ma, just got a call from Interscope. Want me to go on tour with a rapper. And she's probably just thinking in her head, hip-hop, rap tour, girls, drugs, sex, violence. And I'm like, no, this is a job. This is the opportunity I've been waiting for. And she gave me her blessings. She said, when a door opens, you got to walk through it. And I went off on tour, and we're on top of the world, Brad. We're on top of the world.
How old were you?
I'm 18.
Crazy.
Soulja Boy gave me this diamond necklace. He wanted his crew to look good, He gave me this diamond necklace, and I'm the man. And one day he asked for it back. He said, Charlie, that necklace, I want to get it cleaned. Let me get it back. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And the next day we're supposed to be going to Jimmy Kimmel out in L.A. And I didn't get the itinerary from the management. So I just went ahead to the airport the next morning because I knew we were roughly leaving in the morning time. So I was just going to meet everybody at the airport. Nobody's answering my phone calls. And I sit there for a couple hours, and I just come to the realization, I think I'm fired. And I rode the bus back home, or the MARTA train in Atlanta, it's called MARTA. Took it back home, and I said to my mom, Mom, I think I'm fired. Nobody sent me the itinerary. Nobody's answering the calls. Nothing. And she said, well, boy, if you're not going to be in school, you got to pay rent. I said, Ma, I just got fired. And she's like, nope, you got to pay rent if you're not going to be in school. So you either do your little business stuff or you go back to school. And I said, I have an idea. She said, what? I said, I'm going to be a manager, because I was out there on that road. And being the cameraman, that's the lowest paying job. But the manager, he's making all the money. And she said, what do you know about managing rappers? I said, I don't know anything, but I'm going to figure it out. There's this girl group that I like, and nobody's managing them. And I heard about them, and I want to go sign them. I went and signed that girl group. Interscope Records committed to signing them within 24 hours because Soulja Boy didn't like me anymore.
How come?
Apparently, I was telling him he was messing up when you shouldn't tell a superstar rapper when he's messing up. The cameraman's just supposed to shut his mouth and bite his tongue. So he let me go because he didn't want his cameraman questioning him and some of his tendencies. And
when you say superstar, would you give him that?
Oh, biggest song in the world, broke every ringtone.
Which one?
Crank That Soulja Boy. It was the biggest song at the time. He probably made 30, 40 million that year.
Really?
Oh, incredible project that was. It was, it was a dance song. It swept the nation.
One of my people around town here hang out with him.
Yeah?
Yeah, his Instagram is M to the K.
M to the K.
Yeah, go look it up. M to the K.
He's
like a prankster.
I've seen him before, yeah.
Yeah, well, he's hanging out with Soulja Boy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know he was like a superstar.
Oh, massive at the time. I mean, this was 2007.
Bigger than Tyga is now?
Yeah, he was bigger than
How
Tiger.
do you think Tyga's doing?
Tiger's doing great.
Yeah, that's a big song.
Mm-hmm.
But except he lost. What's her name?
Yeah, that's tough.
That's a bummer.
That's a bummer.
That's one you want to keep a hold of. Not only is she freaking smoking, but her whole family's dialed in. That's a powerful family.
They're smart business people.
Yeah, you're smart and you tapped into that. Mm-hmm. I'd stay into that.
That's right.
But I don't know what the deal was. Do you?
I don't know.
You got any inside scoop?
I don't.
Damn. I'll make a few phone calls.
So, I'm not gonna make any phone calls.
All right. So anyway, you Soulja Boy canned you because you gave him some freaking probably honest feedback, trying to help the dude. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing, man. People, if you want to be surrounded by just a bunch of yes men, you're gonna end up in a bad situation. No matter who you are, dude, you need somebody to keep it real.
That's right.
Would you agree?
100%.
I don't like. Everybody likes yes men, make you feel good. Hey, here's an idea. Oh yeah, boss, that's the greatest. Mm-hmm. But guess what? When it's dumb and nobody tells you, you're in a worse situation. So ultimately, you were doing him a favor, and of course, was he on the come up or was he already huge?
He was huge.
I don't know, man. How long did you know him?
I was on the road with him 6 months before I got let go.
But I mean, were you guys buddies?
I wouldn't say buddies.
Because I always say relationships are the new economy. So when you invest in these relationships and you invest properly, you start to, have a different, bond. You have a different relationship where you might be able to get away with critique.
Yeah.
But when you don't have that relationship and you start to critique, sometimes, again, in my opinion, people that are not as enlightened as they should be, because I love getting critiqued. Mm-hmm. I love people's opinions and thoughts. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing is, and let me hear your feedback on this. I always tell people, when people say, I don't care what other people think, I think you should care what other people think. I think you should live your life caring about what other people think. It's just a habit. It's just a rule. However, that doesn't continue once you get to a point where, because of what others think, it starts to make you change what you think. Mm-hmm. That's where you stop and draw the line.
This is what I do, Brad. I look at it as a table. I always want to sit at different seats at the table at different times. So for me, it's not a I care what people think or a I don't care what people think. I literally have to turn on sometimes. Like right now, I'm building something. I can't have rabbit ears. I have to believe in, you said it one time about the Uggs. Like if they listened to people or care what people think, they probably would have not have done it. You said
Crocs.
you would, yeah, the Crocs. Yeah, they probably.
I still don't think they should be in business.
Right, but you know what? At that time, they didn't care. But then you have to like sit at a different seat at the table when you're in your production meeting. Like, okay, well maybe I should care about what this person says. So I always picture my life as a table, and I have to sit at different seats at different times. I'm gonna sit in this one today. I'm gonna move over to this one tomorrow. So yeah.
So do you believe that you should care what people think or no?
Sometimes, of course.
So your point of different seats at different tables is have different perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one. Well,
100%.
I've been forgetting to drop these bombs. All right, so Soulja Boy said, see ya. You go home, you say, Mom, I'm going to start managing people.
Yes.
The girl band that was out there, probably a local St. Louis band.
Local Atlanta. I'm from
Group.
Atlanta.
Or yeah. I was going to say St. Louis because
Hip hop. We were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, earlier we were talking about it, but so a local Atlanta group.
Yes.
And you went and signed them.
I went and signed them.
So
I got them a record
they
deal.
couldn't have been very big.
Nope. Unheard of.
Just getting started?
Unheard of. Had talent, had the look.
How'd you know about them?
One of my friends who was an independent artist was talking to one of the girls and like, check out their stuff.
Who'd they turn out to be?
Well, their name was Vistoso Bosses. And I got them a record deal with Interscope Records. Like, I'm living in my mom's basement at the time.
No.
And
Is Interscope Tommy Mottola?
Jimmy Iovine. Jimmy Iovine.
Who's Tommy Mottola?
Tommy Mottola was he Columbia?
I don't know. That's a Mariah Carey dude,
Or
right?
CBS. He was CBS, like back before.
He was a big dude, though.
Oh, huge. That was way above.
But Interscope's huge.
Interscope is huge.
Huge.
For people to know, Interscope is, let's say, like Eminem, Dr. Dre, Black Eyed Peas, Gwen Stefani. Like, Interscope is a big record label. And they signed my group. And I feel like my career is, like, I can see the future. Get them on television, 106 in Park, and on the radio, features. And one day, things got funny. And it was at a show we had in Washington, D.C. The girls get off stage, and later on that night, they got mad at me. I'm like, what are y'all mad at? They were like, you didn't give us water when we got off stage. And I'm thinking to myself, I got you a record deal, I got you this, that, and you're mad about this.
Yeah, I booked the stage for you.
Exactly. And come to find out, sometimes when people are just looking for something to be mad at, they got something else going on.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth. Dude, I used to freaking like intentionally get in a fight with my girlfriend so I could go out. We'd be fighting over nothing. You're
hilarious. So
you never done that?
Actually, for the first time in my life, I'm in a relationship. I have a beautiful girlfriend. We've been dating about 6 months. It's the first one in my entire life at age 30.
So, well, that's good though. But you're a little new, so you're probably one of them nice ones. You all appreciate them and shit.
I definitely appreciate
them.
It.
Growing up, dude, there was all kinds of dudes and going out with the girls, and you're running through them like they's underwear.
Oh, I come from hip hop.
Yeah, and then you got to learn, and some people learn, and some people don't. And some people stay the same, and they end up freaking divorced 500 times and lonely. And the ones that learn, improve as a person and start getting probably to where you're starting. Mm-hmm. Okay, so keep going. I keep interrupting you because I got so many questions, but keep going.
So the girl group is all of a sudden mad at me over the smallest thing. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm at the Washington, D.C. airport. And I'm like, I've been at an airport before when I feel like I was about to be fired. And come to find out, they left me for Sierra's manager. They wanted something to be mad at. They started finding all these little problems. And they left me for Sierra's manager.
Is this about the time you learned about contracts?
Contracts was actually another story. Can I tell that real quick?
Yeah, please do. Because, like, how can they just leave you?
Well, I did have a contract, and
I mean, don't you watch Empire?
well, I have a I didn't want the negative energy. I figured if they're not going to be with me, they're probably not going to be successful, and suing is really, really hard, and
And it's no good.
I would rather just start from scratch.
Dude, I agree with you. And you know what? I got a policy here at Lightspeed VT we recently adopted. When someone says, what's the agreement? What's the contract? I always say, folks, look, if we can't keep your business, we don't deserve your business.
That's right.
We don't have a contract. Serious.
I like that. That's what I did with my artist.
Three other people started adopting it once they heard that. They're like, dude, that shows that you're good. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, dude, most people will make you sign an agreement because they don't want you to have the ability to leave the relationship. Mm-hmm. And I'm like you, where, dude, if we're not going to be good together, you're not helping anybody to make. If you were a Lightspeed client and you weren't happy with Lightspeed, for me to force you to stay here, that ain't helping anybody. And I assume that works in relationships where you're managing people.
That's right. There was a book I read after I got fired by that girl group, and it was called To Be Loved.
And by the way, ain't never heard of them. Just in case it matters.
Not many have.
Exactly.
They fell off quickly. I read a book called To Be Loved by Berry Gordy.
To Be Loved.
And it was an amazing book, an autobiography of Berry Gordy, who started Motown Records. And there's something I learned from that book. Out of the hundreds and hundreds of artists who he took from nothing to number one, there were only two that didn't leave him. Smokey Robinson and Lil Stevie Wonder. They were the only ones.
That's all he needed.
And when I read that book, I said, all I need is two. And when I went and I found my new group, I told them, I will make you stars just as long as you stay loyal to me. I was in my mom's house. They were in their mom's house. And I said, I will give it everything I've got. And I said, I have a plan. We're not going to sign to a record deal. I wanted to do that because I didn't want their heads to blow up too soon. So I said, we're going to do it independent. And the only thing I had available to me was like MySpace and my time. And I would leave hundreds of MySpace comments every day. It was a philosophy that I came up with. I called it boiling water. If I was to tell you, okay, we're starting a business, and I need you to get hot. A lot of people go out and they try to boil a lake. Can you boil a lake? Mm-mm. Can you boil a pot of water?
Yep.
Now, if you add water to that pot of water, will it make the bigger pot boil faster?
Depends on how much you add, but yeah.
A little bit. Then add a little bit more to that, and then
Yep.
that gets boiling. And you can like exponentially add water, and now you technically can work your way up to a lake. Technically, in theory. So I wanted to just boil a pot of water. And I said, I'm going to take this neighborhood in Atlanta, and there's a party promoter. And I'm going to add all of that party promoter's friends, and I'm going to message all of them by hand. And I'm just going to boil these pots of water. Boil these pots of water. I did that for months and months to where I had carpal tunnel syndrome in my wrist. And Travis Porter started moving up. That was the group I signed. Their name was Travis Porter. They started moving up the charts. And I would drive from every radio station from Jackson, Mississippi to Washington, D.C. And I would run these small little plays. I would just want to boil water, boil water, boil water. And we took over from one club to one side of town to the entire city, to the entire region, to the entire eastern seaboard, all the way to the entire country. I took 3 records, top 20 in the country without a record deal. Had the biggest bidding war going on in hip-hop, and that's what put me in the position to discover a new artist, and that new artist changed my life. His name was 2 Chainz.
He found you or you found him?
I was at a music video shoot with Lil Wayne. Big artist, Lil Wayne. And he's a superstar. And I'm sitting there looking at him. Travis Porter's there. Lil Wayne's there. And I'm just like, wow, like that's a superstar right there. And then I look to the right, and this guy walks in the room. I mean, and the climate in the room changed. It was totally different level of superstar than Lil Wayne. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, he's 6'6". He looks like an Egyptian pharaoh. He's got on all these chains. He's got all this amazing man, like perfect rapper, like superstar. And I was like, why hasn't anybody messed with him? And I talked to my business partner, Tech. I knew he knew him. And he said, well, he's got everything going against him. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, he's been signed to Ludacris for over 10 years. You know, he's washed up. He's getting a little bit older. And his name is Titty Boy. He can't even say his name on the radio, and he's in a group. And I'm like, man, let's sign him. Like, we can take him solo. Let's get him out of the
Who was it? 2 Chainz?
2 Chainz.
And his name was Titty Boy?
In the South, I'll explain.
Yeah, but who came up with, hey, we got to change the name?
I mean, we all did. I mean, it was...
Did you say, hey, Titty,
hey,
we got to talk?
I mean, we call him Tit. That's what, like, still to this day. Because in the South...
So if I ran into him and I said, Tit,
he would be like...
He'd know I know something.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
That's like inner circle shit.
Yeah. I mean, and it was his rapper name. Like,
yeah, but the world's never known him by Tit.
In the South, if you're a mama's boy, and the deep South, like his family's from LaGrange, Georgia, my family's from LaGrange, Georgia. If you're from the deep South and you're a titty boy, that means you're a mama's boy. And that's what his mom actually called him. And that's why it was always his name. But we were like, we need to change this so we could like be a little bit more marketable. He changed it. I was known for changing names. I changed Travis Porter's name. I've changed my name many times.
What was Travis Porter's name?
Dem Hard Hitters.
Dem Hard Hitters.
A group of 3 guys who changed their name to one guy's name, which doesn't make any sense. None of their name is Travis.
But were you involved in the naming?
You know, I believe the artists are the creatives. I'm going to stimulate what needs to happen marketing. I'll be a part of the process, but it's not my job to name anybody. It's their.
So who came up with 2 Chainz? What if he'd have had 5 on at the time? Would he have been 5 Chainz?
He came up with 2 Chainz. He was actually saying it as an ad lib in his songs because he was always known for his jewelry. So he would always say in the background of his songs, 2 Chainz. We were like, that's a good name. And he was like, you think so? I'm like, yeah, man, I think that should be it.
Yeah, 2 Chainz. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's very marketable, 2 Chainz. But I always thought it because he wore 2 chains.
He never wears 2 Chainz.
I was going to say.
It's like 10, 20 sometimes.
So it just came up with 2 Chainz?
Yeah, man. It's catchy, especially how he says it. So, anyways, he did not want us to manage him. He was such a veteran in the game. He had been around it all. He had been around Ludacris for 10 years. He had been around Lil Wayne for years. And here I am, a 19-year-old fat kid trying to wear Joseph.
White dude.
White dude,
no less.
And I said, I want to manage you. Me and my business partner was a DJ. My other business partner was like dude from Savannah, Georgia, kind of a street cat. And we're like rejects. Like I fired from Soulja Boy, like, you know, got a little thing going on with Travis Porter. But he laughed at us. He's like, what do y'all know about managing me? I've been in this game longer than you've been alive. He saw my driver's license. It said under 21. I was like, bro, let me just show you. Let me take you out to lunch. I took him to this little Italian restaurant in his neighborhood. And I laid out a 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day game plan. And I said, what I have is grit. I'm going to pass out CDs every single night. And I'm not going to let a street team do it. I'm going to do it myself because I'm going to pass out those CDs with enthusiasm. I'm going to say that extra little thing when I'm handing it to them that's going to prevent them from throwing it on the ground. And I stood outside of clubs every single night for 6 months, passed out hundreds of thousands of CDs. And we worked it all the way up from him getting no shows to getting $150,000 a show. We won a Grammy, 8 world tours, and I don't know how many platinum records we have, but have quite a few. And we worked it all the way up from those small little things like those MySpace comments every day and passing out the CDs. And I'm doing the same thing right now. Like a couple of days ago, I just released my podcast. And, you know, it charted. It did well. It got up to like number 2. And I'm like, well, I know we're going to fall. Like, I know it's going to fall off the face of the earth because it's an influx that comes in when you release something. And I said, I'm going to go right back to my mom's basement right now, mentally. And I'm going to message 500 people a day, just like I did on MySpace. And I'm going to say their real name. And I'm going to have real conversations with them because I have this thing called mom status marketing. Who's the closest person we have in our lives? Our mom. They believe in everything. Why? Because they have a connection with us. That's why if we do anything wrong, our moms are still like, oh, like I could go sing a song right now. My mom would be like, oh, it's so good. I'm so proud of you, baby. But our moms have this connection. So my goal in marketing is to take somebody who's a complete stranger and to move that person closer to mom status. How do you do that, Brad? Conversation, empathy, having
interest,
showing interest in what they have to do. And there's this theory I have, and I believe everybody's got it wrong, except the few who have done it big. And it started with a Google search. It's called the I am you theory. And in marketing, everybody's doing it wrong. Everybody. And it started with me searching what's the biggest superhero franchise grossing numbers in the history of the world. And I found this USA Today article that broke them down for inflation and all this stuff. And it comes out to be Spider-Man.
I was going to say Spider-Man or Superman.
And I said, Spider-Man, why? The one guy who doesn't have muscles, the chiseled chin, I mean, his aunt couldn't even pay the rent. He has real life problems like all of us. That's the one that's the biggest. And so that led me to a second Google search. Does this I am you theory, like Spider-Man, he was us. He was the only one that was relatable. Does this hold true with religions? Well, what's the biggest religion in the world?
Muslim.
No.
What?
Christianity.
Yeah?
Number of followers.
You sure?
100%.
I don't know about that one, bro.
Oh, yeah.
I might have to freaking challenge that one. Only because there's like a trillion, Chinese people. It could be because of the sheer volume. But I'll believe you for now, but we're going to check it after the podcast.
Check it out.
Matter of fact, if you're listening right now, go check it because we won't be able to get back on another one and tell you the answer. But I'll believe you for now. Sounds wrong, though.
It sounds wrong.
Yeah, because, dude, there's like a billion Muslims in the world. So I would always think, Muslim was the number one. But keep going.
The leader of Christianity was just like Spider-Man. Carpenter.
Relatable.
Hung out with the poor people. Wasn't very popular. Had 12 followers. Now, if he came up on a horse, if Jesus came up on a horse with armor and a sword and said, I am your great savior, yes, he would have had more than 12. He might have had 50,000 people in a field listening to him. But when he died, it was relatable because he was us. It wasn't some guy with the sword. And if you notice what's happening in a perfect example of social media. Social media is I'm so perfect, I'm so perfect, I'm so perfect, that's why you should follow me. But the biggest things that in the history of the world are, I'm just like you, I've got problems. I'm just like you, I've got problems. I'm just like you, I've got problems. That's why you should follow me. And I said, does this I am you theory hold true for a corporation and its products? And I said, well, what is the biggest corporation in the world?
Apple.
Bingo. And I looked at the CEO, Steve Jobs, and I said, it's just like Spider-Man, just like Jesus. He was the first one to take off the suit. He looked like my dad. Everybody is this big, powerful boss sitting behind a desk, and yet this guy's not trying to be a boss with the mahogany row. No mahogany row. Steve Jobs, he had the little glasses tucked in his shirt, just regular dude. And he was smart enough to take this I am you theory to his products. First computer, Lisa. Not Inspiron 3000. Literally making it like a human name. Macintosh. Human names. And then his biggest hit product was the iPod, iPhone, iMac. It was literally us. He had the commercial where they were going up against the big machine, and this company is saying, we are the little guy. We're just like you who are going to use our products. We're fighting against something bigger, and we're trying to empower everybody. And then I thought about Michael Jordan. What's the difference between Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant?
2 rings.
Absolutely not.
What?
Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team. LeBron James was perfect. That's why he'll never catch the ball in the second quarter of a regular season game and 20,000 cameras will go off. Why are 20,000 cameras going off for Michael Jordan in the second quarter of a regular season game? Why are people spending their last $100 and driving 8 hours to say we witnessed it once in our life? That doesn't happen with LeBron. That doesn't happen with Kobe. They did not get cut from their high school basketball teams. He was the scrawny kid who got cut. Oprah. Relatability is the secret. Our problems are the secret. And if we look at Oprah, maybe the most influential woman in the world, she has a problem that we've got to live with her, and she's never gotten to the finish line. Her weight. And that's what we love about her. She never got to the finish line. Everybody else is trying to do their perfect angle. Oh, I'm not going to post that picture. I look fat. And yet, Oprah's problem is one of the reasons why we love her more than any other woman in the history of the world.
Besides Kylie.
Besides the Jenners. They figured out their little sweet spot of being perfect.
It ain't the Jenners, bro. It's Kardashians.
It's all the same.
But you're right. Kylie and what's her name? Kendall. Mm-hmm. They're Jenners.
Yeah.
But keep going, dude, because
Can I get some dropping bombs? Because I've been dropping bombs for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Come on.
But this is too good to be interrupting with the bomb noise. So keep going, though.
So I'm going to summarize it. Boiling water. I want to be the CEO that's not making the big phone call, the big relationship to magically make something happen.
Dude, you're describing me, dog.
Come on, man.
Maybe that's why I got a few followers. I ain't blown up, though, so it ain't working yet. But I'm resonating, or as my buddy Charles says, I'm resignating. I'm resonating with it because, and not you, Charles.
I'm following
we call him the grain.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you, and I always try to tell people. Like people say, "Will you mentor me?" They're DMing me, "Will you mentor me?" And I'm like, dude, I'm still learning the shit. Like I'll mentor you when I reach the level I'm trying to get to where I think you should be looking at. Well, no, just, because I got the same problems. I do the same thing. I'm saying the same shit you are. I just didn't can it like you did. Like you put it in a sensible package that makes sense. But me and you think alike on that regard. And we're both running for president.
Yeah, man.
You're going to be a little bit after me.
I'm a little bit younger than you.
I think I'm going 2024. Which will put me in, well, shit, 2024 or 2028. Either way, dude, you're going to be my successor.
That's right.
Maybe I should just go to Instagram and just get @Brad. Keep going, though.
So, man, to summarize just my business theories is the I am you theory is the things that are wrong with you are actually what will make you the biggest in the world. So stop being afraid. Like if you look at my Instagram, man, I still have a fear of taking my shirt off. And I talk about it. I deal with depression. I talk about it. I have food addiction. I talk about it. At the end of the day, me being perfect won't help anybody. Yes, it's aspirational. And there are perfect moments in my life. I've achieved success, and that is aspirational for people. But what people need is that they know they are just like you. If I were you, I would mentor that guy and say, okay, this is what I'm going through while I'm figuring this out, because we're going to be going through it together. He doesn't need to wait till you're perfect.
Well, it ain't
he
perfect.
He needs it now.
Yeah, but I need to believe, like, in other words, I got shit to do. Mentoring properly takes time.
It does.
Yeah, so like, I'm not going to tell someone I'm mentoring them when I'm not.
Right.
Like, being able to text or DM me. You can DM me now, dude. I answer every one of my Instagram things. You watch. Somebody ever answers my Instagram.
You answered mine, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, dude, I answer them all.
Yeah, man.
There is nobody that has my account that will answer you. It's all me. And when I have more time, which I will one of these days, I got about another 3 to 5 before I chill. And I'll have reached $1 billion by then.
Nice.
And that's when I'm going to chill a little bit. Because, again, this whole work till you die, I don't agree. I think you need to figure out where your life is. But when you just said you still fear taking your shirt off a little bit. Mm-hmm. See, here's the thing, Charlie. People don't fear what they think they fear. See, the number one fear in the world is supposedly public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
You fear taking your shirt off,
Mm-hmm.
right? But yet you don't, and I can prove it. And it's not that people fear public speaking. I can prove it.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know what they fear, and they're targeting the wrong thing. Like, how do you solve something if you don't know what it is? So fear is really a factor, but let me tell you what you really fear. And it's the same thing that people don't want to speak in public for. And it's the same thing people don't take chances. And it's the same thing people don't become
Acceptance?
the next 2 Chainz. No, people fear judgment.
Judgment.
You don't want to take your shirt off because you're worried what I or other people might think about you, right?
What you're saying is so true.
Well, that's what we have to fix, because if we can fix that for people, dude, there will be a lot more people having a lot more success and going in, the whole thing is fear. People think they fear, like you say, I fear taking my shirt off. No, you fear judgment. People say, I fear public speaking. No, you fear judgment. People say, I don't want to start a business because what if I fail? I'm afraid of failure. You're not afraid of failure. You fail all the time and don't give a rat's ass about it. What you're afraid of is what other people might think about you failing, which is judgment. And then the final and last one is some people don't succeed because they fear success. They just don't know it. And why do they fear success? Same damn reason, bro. Because fucking someone's gonna judge them. Mm-hmm. When you're more successful, you are exposed and open to be judged, and other people might have an opinion of you, and you fear judgment. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line, my friend. That's another show of mine, but hey, I'm gonna drop a bomb.
Drop it.
You fear judgment.
I have a story that I recently experienced. So Nike challenged me to run the Chicago Marathon, to try to qualify for the Boston Marathon. To qualify for the Boston Marathon, you have to run a marathon in 3 hours and 5 minutes. My heaviest weight was 305. So it was this whole big campaign with Nike, the biggest moment of my life. Wow, like, I'm now a Nike athlete. We're doing this big campaign together. I just got done biking across America, and I've never reached my goal weight. When I completed my Ironman and I crossed that finish line, I was still 40 pounds overweight. Then when I biked across America, I was still 40 pounds overweight. And now Nike is challenging me to run a marathon in 3 hours and 5 minutes, which, for those of you who don't know, that's an all-out sprint for 26.2 miles. And I figured, if I can run that fast, I'm going to get this last 40 pounds off. So I signed up for it. Nike, I'm in. Let's make a whole documentary. Let's make commercials out of it, billboards, everything. The 305 to 305 campaign, biggest moment of my life. 4 weeks before the marathon, I've been training. Boom, 4 weeks before the marathon, I get injured. Calf injury, can't run at all. And I start beating myself up. Man, I'm not going to be at my goal. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to run this marathon. After a few weeks, I was able to, get myself back in just regular running shape, but I was nowhere near fast. I mean, I had lost, a lot of time running with the injury, and there I am in Chicago. I feel like I've let everybody down. Nike is, asking me questions. Well, are you still going to do it? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. But like the fact you're even asking me that tells me that you're scared. Like that, I dropped the ball on this whole thing. And I wake up that morning of the marathon, and I'm wearing this blue Nike shirt, and I'm looking in the mirror, still 40 pounds overweight. And I'm like, I'm about to cross another finish line, and I'm still in the same spot. This is going to be my 5th marathon. I've done an Ironman, I biked across America, and I'm not at my goal. And my goal was to just be able to look in the mirror and say, I love the way I look. And I've still to this day never experienced that. And I went back to the one thing I knew. If I want something, I need to dress up as it. When I was 8, I'm going to dress up as CEO Charlie. And I'm going to become a businessman. It worked. When I was 305 pounds, and I said, I want to be an athlete, I dressed up as Charlie Rocket. I put my glasses on, my bandana, my bright colors, And I became an athlete. I became a Nike athlete. And if I'm looking in this mirror right now and I hate the way I look, I said, I need self-love. So what am I going to do? I called Scott, my best friend. He was with me. I said, Scott, go get me a marker. He went in. He said, what do you need a marker for? I said, I just need a marker. I'm doing what I do. And I took my shirt off and I wrote on my chest, self-love, on my chest and stomach. And when I started running that marathon, I took my shirt off and I ran in front of 100,000 people. And at first I didn't know, but I knew if I needed self-love, I needed to dress up as self-love. You get what you put out into the world, and I was going to tell these 100,000 people who are watching this marathon that I am self-love because I just needed it. I was faking it before I made it. I put the cart before the horse. And when I took my shirt off, somebody screamed at me within 10 seconds. They said, self-love. And then somebody over there, self-love. And people are cheering and hollering, self-love. And I ran for 5 hours straight of people screaming at me how much they loved me with my shirt off.
Yep.
And I no longer feared the judgment because it was my imperfections. And me being brave to show my imperfections is what made people actually love me. So everything you just said, the fear of judgment, when I actually did it, I mean, I said, I'm getting more girls' attention with my shirt off than I do with my shirt on. Like, everybody was self-love. I was like, are my imperfections of what people actually love about me? I can now say, yes, it is.
See, folks, if you're listening, pay attention. Too many people hide what they believe are their imperfections, assuming what others will judge, when in reality, you expose those things authentically, because authenticity is key. And the next thing you know, you be surprised, what you fear is not even going to happen. I always tell people, especially dudes that are a little bit flabby, they're going to the pool. I'm like, because I had a buddy of mine, same thing, dude. He'd get in the pool with his shirt on, and like you can see when his shirt's wet that you're fat, bro. Like, why are you hiding the fat? You look dumb hiding the fat when first of all, it ain't hidden. Second of all, you look dumb being self-conscious of the fat. So I said, dude, what you need to do is you need to freaking put a beer in your hand and don't suck it in.
Yep.
And just freaking have a good time and freaking just let it all hang out.
That's great advice.
Dude, that dude had the best time that day ever, and he still credits me with all you got to do if you're fat at the pool is put a beer in your hand. Is just, you hold the beer like you don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And I've noticed people do it. Like, there's some dudes that don't know that they're supposed to be embarrassed, and they're not.
Yeah.
And they don't give a rat's dick, and they're the ones having the most fun, and they don't give a shit about anything. And dude, guess what happens by the end of the night? Everyone's gravitating towards that dude, or those dudes, or those people, because they're self-loving. They're embracing themselves. Or some people like to say, well, they're too stupid to know they should care. No, dude, that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to preach is, people, if you want to call it stupid, go ahead. But to me, it's enlightened. Like, if you get so confident in yourself and walk around with that much confidence where you show imperfections and you embrace your imperfections, dude, I think the whole world's going to love you. You're saying you found that out to be proof with Spider-Man, with the Steve Jobs, and now with Charlie Rocket.
Yeah, man.
So what's next for you?
Oh, man. Okay. So I come from the music business, and I retired. I walked away when I was at my heaviest weight and diagnosed with a brain tumor. And for everybody listening, since we haven't told that story, I'm okay. Brain tumor has reversed. I'm doing fine. But when I walked away, I said, I want to be an athlete. And I spent this year doing these athletic things and proving to myself I can save my life doing this. And I did. And I'm pulling a playbook from the music industry of what I have next. What we would do in music is we would record an album for about a year. We'd make all this content that would be amazing. And then the next year we'd go out and tour and share it. And then the year after that, we'd go make an album and we'd make this content. And the year after that, we'd go tour and share it with everybody. So this year, 2018, it started for me, this entire journey, on January 1st. I created the content, became a Nike athlete, biked across America, etc., etc. Next year, I want to go tour. And I want to touch as many people as I can. I want to be an amazing storyteller. I want to speak at corporations, at high schools. I just want to go tour. And what's going to happen the year after that?
Make content with Lightspeed.
There we go. I want to go live with the tribes in Nigeria and learn how to run fast. I want to go live with the monks. I want to go learn all these things and experience all these things and transform my life in different ways. And then the year after that, I want to go teach everybody what I learned. So when I go on tour, it'll be just like an artist. They're always promoting new songs, singing new songs. They're not singing the same songs over and over. So content year, tour year, content year, tour year for the rest of my life.
And that's your deal?
That's my deal.
So if you could be anywhere at any time right now, where would you be?
Right here. What you mean? I chose to be here. This was my choice.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, like, if you could be in Nigeria right now, would you go? And not that you couldn't be, but like
I actually wanted to, but my team told me, Charlie, we need to make some money, so stop going and doing these adventures because that's not going to pay the bills. So right now we're like going on podcasts and hopefully we get booked for some speaking engagements.
Is that what you're looking for?
Speaking engagements? I got to make a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you charge? It's not enough, whatever it is, because if you can inspire the audience, it's worth all the money in the world.
I'd say anywhere between $7,500 for like a high school if their budget is low, or a corporation $15,000 if their budget is able to
for an hour.
For an hour, yeah.
And what result do you think happens with the crowd?
Ooh, when I speak, for example, the Duke basketball, the Coach K and them guys, they brought me in to motivate the team. And the Duke basketball team this year is the most prolific college team ever assembled. I mean, the number 1 and the number 2 draft picks are going to be from Duke this year. And they needed somebody who can talk to the players in their language, but say the same things the coaches were saying. So they basically, okay, kids, this is the first class of high school players that have millions of followers. Like Zion Williamson, he's from another world, and he has millions of followers on Instagram.
Already?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's been a star for years. Like, he's a phenom. He's like LeBron James. Like, we've watched him grow up. And I went in and I told them stories about Drake. How when I'm at Drake's house, he's got this pool party. People are jumping off the pool, and there's every distraction you can imagine at Drake's pool party. And yet Drake is nowhere to be found. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm sitting there just enjoying myself. And I'm like, where is Drake? And then I saw the corner of the pool on the other side. There's this little pool house, and Drake pops out. And he, like, looks over at 2 Chainz and, like, waves us over. And we're like, yeah, let's, go talk to Drake. Finally get to see him. We're at his house, for Christ's sake. And he's like, man, this pool house is where I'm going to record my next album. He, like, dragged some pool furniture in, like, put a little microphone and computer. And he was just so excited about making music. In the midst of every distraction that could possibly happen, there was only one thing he cared about: his craft. And I told the Duke basketball players, I said, y'all are at Drake's house right now. Y'all are superstars. Everybody wants to distract you. Are you focused on your craft like Drake? And the week I gave the speech to the Duke basketball team was the week Drake had 6 out of 10 top 10 records in the country, broke the Beatles record. And I said, that's how he broke the damn Beatles record. He's at a pool party and he's recording his music. He only cares about one thing. So that's why, like, the Duke basketball team brought me in to speak to the players, because I tell stories that I don't tell people A, B, C, D. I can, but Walt Disney was a teacher. I'm fascinated by the man. Every movie was a lesson, But he didn't say, you should do this, you should do that. And that's what I want to do. I want to tell stories that we can learn something from.
Yeah. You know, I'm writing a book called The Hard Way, which is basically, should I learn the hard way so you don't have to? Mm. And they're based on stories and lessons as I grew up. Mm. I want, maybe you can freaking coach me on how to tell the story. Because, I mean, sometimes it's hard to figure out the lesson. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I got great stories, and people always like hearing them. Mm-hmm. But then I got to figure out, you know, where's the lesson in that story? Because there's so many that it could be. Like when I was 6 years old, my dad entered me into a swim club. Mm. It was called the Guppies. And I've never swam before. I go in, you know, pay my dues or whatever they do to sign you up for Guppies. And we have a swim meet. Now, my dad never came to any of my sporting events growing up. Uh-huh. This one event is the only one he ever went to. After this, he never came to anymore. Wow. So we show up. I'm like a little kid. I dive in, boom, get disqualified. Mm. Now, why did I get disqualified? People think I'm bullshitting when I tell you this. It's a fact. I got disqualified because I was too fast. They said, there's no kid this fast that should be in this league. Ooh. Sorry, disqualified. My dad basically said, what are you talking about? Like, this is where they start. We just signed him up. Like this, nope, too fast. He's disqualified for being in this league. He should be in the next league up. Mm. He's too fast for this league. What's the lesson there? Because that's a great story, but what's the lesson? I keep saying, man, I want to put that in my book, but what's the lesson? Because I was just too fast naturally, and I got disqualified for being too good. So what's the lesson?
The lesson is you got to be around your tribe, man. Like, too many of us are too good to be around the people we're around. See. They did what was right.
see, I knew you'd be able to do that, dude. You'll find a good lesson in it.
Hey, come on, book speaking engagements. I want to speak. Come on.
Dude, you got a gift of bringing out the lessons, because I've been trying to think, like, what's the lesson in that? Like, because you want to tell the story, but where's the lesson? That's what the whole book's about. Mm-hmm. So if you can just snatch it out of 2 seconds of hearing it.
By the way, you're an amazing storyteller. That was amazing. Like your twang and the guppies and the little slang you put on it. Bro, you're an amazing storyteller, bro.
Well, thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I just can't connect the lessons. That's why the book's taken as long as it's taken. Uh-huh. Everyone keeps saying, why don't you write a book? I said, listen, I'm going to write 3 books. Uh-huh. One's called The Hard Way, which is basically stories of my life that I had to learn a lesson a hard way.
I like that.
So you don't have to. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to write Zero to Light Speed, but that's only when this company's worth over $1 billion.
That's right.
Why? Because I think that's the new level. Like,
yeah.
It's not hard being a millionaire. It's not hard building a freaking 8-figure company. Mm-hmm. Try 9 and 10 figures. That's a little harder. Mm-hmm. 10 figures is the hardest. Mm. Like once you're above 10 figures, $1 billion or more, I think you did something. Like billions is the new millions. Mm-hmm. Then my very last book is going to be called Inches to Spare. Mm. It's inches to spare, and it's basically meaning you got to walk around like you got inches to spare. Like here, you can have a couple of mine. I don't need them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's almost like a fake it till you make it, which some people say they don't believe in. What do you think of that?
Oh, man, I come from hip-hop, man. This is where the kings of fake it till you make it, where the kings are putting the cart way in front of the horse. We put the cart so far in front of the horse, we got to get on the horse to catch up to the cart.
So you believe it?
I mean, I believe in the law of attraction.
You got to dress up.
If you believe in the law of attraction, then you believe in fake it till you make it.
So you were saying that you had to dress up.
To be an athlete.
Which basically means, like, assume...
Well,
position.
I'll tell you how I got a Nike deal, which is unheard of. I'm the only one in history who's ever done it this way. I said to myself, I want to be a Nike athlete. I'm talking to my business partners. We got to make some money at some point. I've retired and I got to do something for money one day. And I said, I want to be a Nike athlete.
Yeah.
They said, well, how are you going to do that? I said, the same way I always do. I'm going to dress up like a Nike athlete. And I said, well, what do Nike athletes have? They have commercials. I said, I'm going to make a Nike commercial. And I wanted it to be true to Nike, to where it's going to inspire people. It's not going to be about shoes. And I read in the Nike.
Never is. Their commercials are never about shoes.
They're an inspiration company. And I read in their mantra, if you have a body, then you're an athlete. I said, well, that's just like me. Nike needs an athlete that's not perfect. I'm going to be their guy. I might be the most powerful guy ever because 7 out of 10 Americans are overweight. I might be the most famous Nike athlete ever. Like, this is just my mindset.
Yep.
So I said, I'm going to make the commercial for the 7 out of 10. And it was my life story about how I grew up. I was chubby. I got into business. I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. I retired, and I wanted to be an athlete. And at the time, I was training for the Ironman. I had yet to do it. And at the very end, I said, my story isn't over yet, comma. And that was the tagline of the commercial. And then after that screen, it was a black background with white letters, my story isn't over yet, comma. Then it said, insert Nike logo here. That was the last thing you saw. And I put out the video, and the video went viral. Millions of views. And 3 days later, Nike called me. And they said, we don't know who you are, but you have our entire campus in a frenzy trying to get a hold of you. We want you to come to Beaverton.
Beaverton, Oregon.
Beaverton, Oregon.
Come on.
And I walk into this conference room, and they had all these TVs up with me on it. I'm like, oh my. They gave me all these gifts. They gave me this custom Nike box with rockets all over it, like this big porcelain box with Nike rockets engraved in it. And I'm like, this is a big deal. Like, I run businesses, so I know, like, this has got to be special. Like, if somebody's doing this, they said, you inspired us to take our company in a new direction. I said, me? Because, I mean, I'm aware, like, I know that Nike is the best performing stock in the Dow 30 this year. And they're telling me, the common man athlete, who's 40 pounds overweight, that I inspired them to take their company in a new direction. I didn't know what they had going on. They can't tell me. You know, they can't tell somebody who's not an employee what's going on. Come to find out, 6 months later, I got a phone call. And they said, we got good news for you, Charlie. We've been working on something. I said, yeah? They said, we got a big commercial coming out. It's going to be the 30-year anniversary of Just Do It. It's going to involve Colin Kaepernick, LeBron James, Serena Williams, and we want you in it. And I said, wow. They said, that film you made back in February inspired us to platform athletes that have crazy dreams. Yourself, the athlete with no arms who's a wrestler, or no legs who's a wrestler, a girl in a wheelchair who plays basketball, and all sorts of athletes like myself who have these big, crazy dreams. And Nike gave me a letter that they delivered in an astronaut's backpack. And they special delivered it to me. And I made a commercial about my relationship with Nike. And I read this letter in the fan-made Nike commercial. And I titled that commercial, Dream Crazy. Nike, a month later, titled the Colin Kaepernick commercial, maybe the most controversial or culturally pivoting commercial of all time. They titled that commercial after mine, Dream Crazy.
Mm.
And I was able to shift a huge Fortune 500 company, a Dow 30 company, all from just this I am you theory that our imperfections are
now,
what
is I am you an acronym, or are you saying I am you?
I am you.
Y-O-U.
Y-O-U. It's a book I'm writing.
Well, it's going to be a good book because I can already tell where you're going with it, and I subscribe to the same theory. Like when we try to make our system here, I always tell people, man, just get in the position of them. Mm-hmm. Like if you're building an interface, act like you're not, and just log in as the person that's going to be logging in. And what do you think? So that's the same concept as I am you. 100%. And I think Steve Jobs was the master at I am you. Like he built his products in that role. And that's why when he died, I said, Apple's going to lose shares. And they are. And why? Because they don't care anymore like Steve did. Steve was a perfectionist. He was I am you all the way. There's a you've read his book?
No, I have not.
So there's a story where, like, you know, it would cost thousands and thousands of dollars for I mean hundreds of thousands, if not millions, to move something like 1/8 of a centimeter over. And they're like, Steve, this will take months off the thing and all this money. And he said, do it anyway. Like, do it. Just screamed out, do it. And there was no reason for it other than he knows that that's where the line should have been.
Yeah.
And that's I am you right there. And I am you's a good frickin' title too.
Thank you, man.
That's a good one. Old Charlie Rocket, folks. If you guys aren't following Charlie, he ain't hard to find, at Charlie on Instagram. You got a website?
I do have a website, and I have, as of this week, a podcast. I get to talk long times now.
Yeah, you guys should be listening to his podcast because I'm telling you, dude, he's got a great way to frickin' tell the story and tie it to a lesson, which is funny, bro, because if you go to bradlee.com, matter of fact, I wish I could just pull it up right now and show it to you. bradlee.com, and then it says book Brad, which is, you know, the people here saying, you know, people want to book your, so I said, whatever, I don't like that, but go ahead. Because I'll turn a lot of them down.
Can I have them? Can I catch your rebounds?
Sure.
Little tip-ins?
Sure.
Like, we can't afford Brad. We'll send them Charlie.
Well, it's not even can't afford me, because if I do it, sometimes I'll do it cheap because I don't need the money. It's what you're talking about, who's going to be there, and if I think I can help. Because I don't want the money just to have the money.
That's commendable.
Like if I want to help your audience, or I think I can, then I'll show up. Like you've heard of Grant Cardone, obviously.
I have.
So he does the 10Xs. Well, the first 10X, dude, I told the 5 factors that helped me get to where I am. Then the second 10X, I told people the 2-step process to getting anything you want. It was just so easy to understand. It went over a lot of people's head. I'm thinking about starting something called 2 steps away. Just you're 2 steps away from anything you want in life. 2 steps away from anything you want. And I can show people that that's a fact. But the 2 steps is do more and get better. Do more and get better. Like that's all you have to do.
And the get better happens naturally when you do the first one.
Touche. You're exactly right. But do more, get better. People are like, what does that mean? Dude, you want to make more money? Do more than you're doing now. You're going to run out of time eventually. Well, then get better. So you don't need to do as much to make the same amount.
I like
so
that.
It's do more, get better. Do more, get better. And then repeat. So it's really a 3-step. You're 3 steps away.
Right.
Because people don't know how to scale a business. And they're like, how do you scale business? Well, first of all, I always ask, how much money you got in the bank? And they're like, well, we've got about $400,000 in cash. And I'm like, why would you have $400,000 in the bank? Well, just in case. You don't scale that way. Like that $400,000 is a tool. Money is worthless unless you spend it. Use it. If I gave you $1 million, you can't do anything with it. Guess what? It's just paper. It's only valuable if you can use it and leverage it. Well, that's how you scale a business. So when I started this business, dude, I was broke, living in a 1-bedroom apartment with no furniture, owing child support, car payments that were past due. And guess what? I didn't give a rat's ass. When I started making a little bit of money, I took the money and hired my buddy. And I said, now there's 2 of us to get back to this level twice as fast. As soon as we got back to that level, I hired another person. And at the end of the day, I just kept staying broke because I wanted to grow a company. I wasn't trying to get furniture. I wasn't trying to have a certain amount of money in the bank. I was trying to grow my company. So again, when you focused on something, and again, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't say, oh yeah, my grandfather taught me this when I was 12. I just accidentally did it. I just inherently focused on what I wanted, and what I wanted wasn't money. What I wanted was a real company. What I wanted was to grow the company. And so inherently, to me, it's common sense, but it's actually, I'm tired of people calling shit common sense. It's actually uncommon sense, most of it. Things you're talking about is common sense, but it's not common sense. Why isn't anybody doing it? But anyway, if you go to my website, bradlee.com, and you click Book Brad, you'll see a sentence. If you want, I'm going to give you that sentence for you because it fits you better than it fits me. Although it does fit me as well. You know what it says?
What does it say, bro?
I don't have a speech. I have a story.
Ah, I like that.
That's, dude, you belong, that belongs on your website. Because that's what you're talking about. And you have way better stories like with Drake and shit. See, I didn't have Drake and 2 Chainz and I didn't freaking do anything special. I just learned a lot of shit the hard way.
That's good though.
But, you know, and not only that, I don't care if they book me ever. I mean, people do book me and I like when I'm being booked, but I don't really care. So I can remove it and all my shit's ridge. So I can remove it from mine and give it to you as long as that becomes one of your stories. Because, dude, it's a good line.
It is a good line.
I don't have a speech, bro. I got a story.
I like that.
That's good. That's real good.
That's real good.
When I go do speeches, I'll do these slides, and all I put is a quote on the slide.
That's good.
And people are always like, dude, your slides are always so clean. They look good. Well, that's because, again, I do the IMU. If I'm in the audience, those slides don't stay up long enough to have 788 things written down. Not only that, I realize a speech, that ain't training, that ain't learning, that's exposing me to information to see if I want to go deeper with that subject matter expert. So why try to put all that shit on your slides to where now your slides are just ugly? It's like, freaking, I make them look good. I put one quote and they're all original quotes. Why? Authenticity.
That's right.
Be yourself. I got one that says, listen with your eyes and you'll see all you need to hear. Think about that. Listen with your eyes.
I like that.
And you'll see all you need to hear. What's that mean? You've heard it. It's common sense. It basically means actions speak louder than words. Show me, don't tell me. Look, you'll see all you need to know, right?
That's right.
So I just made a little twist, put a little originality on it, and bang, coined a phrase. It's gonna get a little bit of play coming up here at this next event. But dude, I'll give you that because you deserve it more than I do, and you got better stories in exchange. Because there always has to be a fair exchange.
Can't wait to exchange.
If you don't have a fair exchange in life, it's lopsided. Like if I do a bunch of shit for you and you do nothing for me, eventually it's going to be a problem. Would you agree?
Always. Every time I've actually done something for somebody for free, I've other than like giving back, like the business relationship.
Sure, you can build.
It ended up, the relationship didn't last.
That's because there was no exchange, dude. There has to be a fair exchange, man. So in exchange, if you want that powerful, because I'd look so good on your system, on your website. In exchange, you help me. If I need to, I'm gonna text you. I'm gonna tell you the story, and then you help me find the lesson.
Can't wait.
Because I've learned lessons, and some of them are easy. Like here is what I learned. But some of them I'm like, damn, that's a damn good story. But what's the lesson? Like last one, dude, there's no kidding.
Okay.
Or I should say no shit, because it's the truth. May God strike me dead and everything I love. We're walking up the hill one day after school. Me, 2 of my friends. I lived at the top of this hill. We're walking up the hill. I look at my friends. We're bullshitting all the way home from school. I look at my friends and I go, dude, what would you guys do if a bird just shit in my hand? And I went like that. And a bird shit in my hand.
It's not.
Dude,
not
a bird shit in my hand on demand.
Have you ever studied quantum physics?
No, but I wrote that down when you said it. Because if that has to do with laws of attraction, I'm going to go study it.
It explains everything.
At the end of the day, dude, we all freaked out, of course. And then, you know, the story went a couple of days telling people laugh, haha, it was over. I was a little kid, didn't even know the significance of that until now. When I look back, I'm like, damn, dude, you remember that time I was walking up the hill and I said, what would you do if a bird just shit in my hand? And a bird literally shit in my hand the second I said that. Everyone freaked out.
So I'll give you the lesson.
What if I could have freaking honed that skill from that age?
Oh my goodness.
I'd already be a billionaire. I'd already be helping more people in the world.
All right, so this is going to be a little small rant about quantum physics.
Okay, go ahead. And plus, before you forget, you also told me earlier that you were going to tell. I'll think of it while you're going.
Oh, I know what it is.
Because there's one more thing I want you to talk about.
Contracts.
Keep going.
All right, so small lesson on quantum physics. What they discovered in the early 1900s is that an atomic particle is not a piece of matter, aka, let's say, a rock. Okay, a rock we look at as, oh wow, like that's a piece of matter. It's a thing we can hold in our hand. An atomic particle ended up through this test called the double slit test.
Frequency.
It is a wave. So if everything is made up of atomic particles,
And everything is.
then that means everything is
a
energy.
frequency. Yeah.
It's a frequency.
That's why I say, like, right now we think there's nothing in between us. We're connected.
100%. Let's take a pond, a visual for everybody listening or watching. You have a pond, and we drop 3 rocks in the pond. Those rocks are separate, but what happens to the water that comes off of them? Waves. And if those 3 rocks are boom, one's over here, one's over here, one's over here, the waves all collide and connect. That's why when I write in my notebook and I believe in my heart that I want to be a Nike athlete, what I do is I take my heart and I tune it to the radio station that I want to listen to. Okay? What is a radio station? You got a radio. It's a tuner that you tune it to a certain frequency, and all of a sudden it can hear that frequency. I want to listen to country. Boom, I tune it. And 99.6 is a frequency, and all of a sudden I can hear those songs. So when we take our heart and we tune it, now the reason why I say my heart is because if I were to go back to like human instincts, wouldn't it sound really weird if I said, follow your mind? Instinctively as humans, we just know not to say that. Or if I were to point at myself and I were to do this, if I told you point at yourself and you did this, I would think you're kind of socially awkward or strange or something's wrong with you maybe. Like you probably are going to point at your heart. Why? There's this instinctive thing about our heart. Our brains usually do all the work, but our brains have this intelligence just like our hearts do, but our brains play tricks on us. Our hearts have intelligence, but they don't play tricks. It knows what we need, and that's why we say follow it or listen to it. So when I tune my heart to what I want, I'm taking that receiver and I'm tuning it. If we're all energy, so that means out there in the world, if Nike's a rock and I'm a rock, out there in the world, there's waves coming off of us that collide somewhere. And I need to strengthen those waves, and I need to send more to it. So I made a Nike commercial that then got hundreds of thousands of people wanting and tuning their hearts for me. So now there's all these waves happening. And then that's how I get in the commercial with LeBron and Serena after tuning my heart to saying, I want to be in a commercial with LeBron and Serena in my notebook every single day. And I'm the most far-fetched person to be in a commercial with them too. And I am in it. But I would tune my heart.
How do you tune it?
Believe bigger. Everybody says dream bigger. What I want to do is I want to believe bigger. That means when I say the words, I'm going to be a Nike athlete, I believe it way bigger.
You have to. That's the fuel.
That's the fuel.
That's the magic sauce.
And then I go out into the world and I strengthen those energy waves. That's called law of action.
Yeah, I was about
doing work.
Yeah, I was about to say, dude, thinking bigger and believing bigger and dreaming bigger is not always going to do it, because if you didn't make that video, you didn't take that action.
I had to strengthen the connections between me and Nike. I tuned, and then I had to add more waves. And that's what I did by working.
See, dude, you should have a VT. By the way, a VT, just in case you didn't know,
I know,
is like the next thing besides a book. Because books don't adapt, they don't ask questions, and they don't change based on who you are. A VT can, and we can make a VT from a book that'll outperform a book all day long. But anyway, we'll talk about that later.
I'm actually a fan. I've signed up to a program that you built, I believe. I believe you built it.
Well, a lot of times we try to coach our customers, but they sometimes have their own beliefs and their own budgets and shit, so they do it their own way. So it may be on Lightspeed, but I wouldn't say we built it unless it was, something I said, hey, like they said, we'll do whatever you want. Like I'm about to make a course right now. It's just going to be called the Brad Lee Masterclass. It's basically everything I've learned since 6 years old till now on sales and closing. Because if you want to be successful, you need to be able to persuade people and have ethics and build referrals and build relationships and overcome objections and rebuttals like you wouldn't believe. And I've been building other people's stages for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I haven't built my own. And what's crazy is I started out building my own, and I built Lightspeed for me, and it started working. And then I ran into a little bit of competition, and I thought to myself, what would be smarter? Fighting for the same space all these people already occupy, or helping them occupy the space, collaborate instead of compete. So I decided to collaborate. Well, I've been so busy building stages for the last 20 years that I haven't made my own. And what's crazy is like a lot of people say, dude, where's your content? Where's your content? And I'm like, don't have any. And I'm thinking, dude, I'm what you call a fat trainer. You ever heard of a fat trainer?
Oh, yeah.
That's the dude that's fat, but he's telling you what to eat and what to do. Now, it doesn't mean his information's wrong, but what it does mean is, how come if it's such great information, how come he's not doing it? So lately I've been thinking of that. Now, back to the shit story. You said, I'll tell you the lesson in the shit story. What's the lesson?
Quantum physics, brother.
Well, I'm going to go study that. You got a good recommendation?
Oh, yeah. Study Greg Braden. He has this amazing speech that he did at a conference. It's about 3 hours long. It's amazing. I'll send it to you. But man, there's so much good stuff. If you type in quantum physics, law of attraction, I mean, these scientists, they break it down of how atomic particles work, how energy works, and it explains the law of attraction so clearly, because it's not some mystical woo-woo stuff. There is science behind it, and I'm living proof of it.
Well, I'm living proof of it. I would, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The Secret, all of these laws of attraction things. It's not sit in your bedroom and think I own a Lamborghini and then one will show up. You have to you have to at least tune the frequency. Like you have to have it out in the universe for it to be starting to come. But I believe that the universe will give you anything that you desire, but it all starts with, attracting it, believing it, and assuming the position. Like you say, dress up for it. You want to be a CEO, dress like one. Now, by the way, what does dress like one mean? Well, it depends on what industry. Because a CEO in certain industries don't look like CEOs in other industries. People always ask, why don't I wear ties anymore? Dude, I don't want to wear a tie. That's why. You know that? Like, I don't want to wear a tie. You think ties are good looking and the epitome of dressing up? Then you should wear a tie. Because what I do is I try to look the best I can. And when like right now, I look like this jacket. This is casual. If I were going to an event, no, I'd have a shirt, cufflinks, pocket square, jacket, jeans. Someone says, hey, you need to wear a tie for this one. Dude, I'm only going to wear a tie for 2 reasons. Married or buried. If I get married or buried, and I'm already married. So when you go to these events, do you tie up?
No.
You don't wear a tie? How come?
I used to. I used to wear a suit and tie.
How come though? And besides that, nowadays, I think nowadays you can tell who owns the company or who's the big wig because he's the one or she's the one not dressed up.
I mean, for me, I'm an athlete now. And I think it's okay to change who you are.
See, dude, that's believing it right there. Like, he totally just said, I'm an athlete now. Like, that's owning that shit. And that's what's funny is you believe it.
I believe big. So I'm not going to wear a suit and tie. When I went to 2 Chainz' wedding a few months ago, I dressed up, but it's okay to change your mind if you want to wear suits one day and not the other.
Dude,
okay.
Find out who I was talking to, because, dude, I did a 2 Chainz. It wasn't 2 Chainz. It was, I forget the name, but some dude called. We did a whole demo, and 2 Chainz wanted to create some sort of interactive training course. So talk to him direct, find out who it was, and see if my little smart-ass comment pissed him off.
I think I might know who it is.
I want to say
somebody.
Chris, but maybe it wasn't.
I think I know who it is. And he's not in our company, but he's known to do stuff like that. And yeah.
Well, he said he was something with 2 Chainz.
There's a lot of people who do that. Yeah. Unfortunately, if it was in this space and it was about, information, it would have been me calling, and it wasn't me.
Well, then they was a fraud.
It was a fraud.
Then good. Then I didn't piss off 2 Chainz.
Mm-mm.
I was going to say, dude, you're going to have to set that straight for me.
4 Chainz.
So is 2, you retired, so now 2 Chainz, who's managing him?
My former business partners. I handed everything over to them.
So he didn't leave you, though. He was one of the good ones.
Mm-mm. He was a good one.
He understood loyalty.
100%.
That's good, because once he started getting a little fame, it's real easy to kick down the dude that got you there or the girl that got you there.
Mm-hmm.
And see, people always say, never forget where you came from. Someone says, well, I come from the ghetto. Why I want to remember that? That's not what that saying means. I don't think. But like, dude, if I bring you to the dance and then now that you're at the dance, I'm not good enough to dance with anymore because all these other people are there to dance better, I think you're rude and you just don't forget who brought you to the dance. Like, do you agree with that?
100%.
There's a little loyalty there. And by the way, ethics is key, bro.
Mm-hmm.
If things aren't win-win, they're not going to last. Another story I got, dude. When my dad never gave me really allowance, you wanted something, he made you work for it. So one weekend, I need a little side money. He says, go mow lawns or something. Now, again, I'm a little kid. So I'm walking around, knocking on neighbors' doors. Can I do something for some money? End up at the house at the bottom of the hill we lived on. This dude's thinking, little kid wants to make $5. Little side money for the weekend. So he says, yeah, go out and pull me some weeds. Hands me a 5-gallon bucket. I go out in the yard, start pulling weeds. Well, my grandpa, he taught me how to pull weeds with one finger where I'd get it from the root, and boom, I was like a weed pulling mofo. Mm-hmm. So I go out there, I come back about 2 hours later, knock on his door. He forgot I'd even been out there. He said he'd give me a quarter per weed. Dude, I had 800 plus weeds in this bucket. He owed me hundreds of dollars. He couldn't believe that what I had done. Mm-hmm. And he fired me. And I'm walking home thinking, damn, why did I get fired from this job? I did the best job I could. I made the whole thing spotless. Like, I thought working hard and doing the right thing and doing a good job is what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. But then it dawned on me, not then, now, looking back, he fired me because he didn't expect to be handing out hundreds of dollars. He was expecting to help a little kid make $5-10 on the side. So he was giving me the job as a gesture of kindness, and then I stuck it right up and broke it off in him for about $250. Mm-hmm. That's not a win-win scenario. Mm-hmm. Now, if I would have went in there and pulled about $5-10 worth of weeds, I would have had that job almost every weekend or every other weekend for as long as I needed $5-10. But nope, I broke it off in him. And that goes to show, man, it always has to be win-win or it's not going to last. Mm-hmm. So if you're out there starting a business and you think, man, I'm going to just jack them when I can get them, it ain't going to be a very long business.
That's right.
If you're worried more about money than you are relationships, you better rethink what your values are, because I got a new saying that I made up a little while back. And it's basically, if you value money over relationships or people, soon you'll have neither. Mm-hmm. Because, dude, I'm telling you, relationships are the new economy. Folks, longest dropping bomb episode in history. We can keep talking if you want to, because I want to hear about this contract thing. But I know that it's, about an hour and a half so far. So tell us about the contract story, and then let's wrap it up for you.
All right, we're going to end it with the story, maybe the most interesting one yet.
See, because he don't have speeches. If you hire Charlie to speak, he ain't going to come out there with some PowerPoint pause at the same time. He's going to come out there and tell stories, because he don't have a speech. He has a story.
So remember when I had to convince my mom of letting me go on tour?
Yep.
I had to do that one time before in my life. Actually, 2 times. I'm just going to tell this one story, though. I'm 12 years old, and I didn't like playing the saxophone anymore. My parents always made me buy everything myself, a lot like the rent I had to pay in my mom's basement. But I wanted a saxophone, a tenor saxophone. They said, you got to save up money and you got to pay for it yourself. $700, an expensive saxophone. So I worked hard, cut grass just like you, saved up the grass, boom. I mean, saved up the money. Grass too, green, all the same. Bought a saxophone, didn't like it anymore. Go to sell it. Put it in the classified ads. Guy calls by the name of Jason Bard. I'll never forget his name. He said, I don't have all the money, but maybe we could do a payment plan. I hadn't been getting many hits on the saxophone. So I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Got on the computer, like Windows 98, boom, draw up a little contract, 4 payments, due on these dates, contract, boom. I knew where he lived. He lived in Jonesboro, Georgia. Boom, draw up the contract. He signs. I give him the saxophone. Got the first payment when he bought it. Great. Got the second payment. Great. Then the payment stopped coming. I'm thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, calling him. He's not answering the phone. I said, Dad, let's drive down to his house. We got his address. Go down to his house. Nobody's answering the door. I'm like, Dad, man, I need my money, man. Like, so my dad says, let's sue him in just small claims court. And I was like, yeah, let's do it, man. Let's sue him. I'm ready. Like, I need my money back. He doesn't show up to court. I'm like, Dad, what do we do? He said, well, maybe there's something with the sheriff that can happen or something, but they're not going to treat it like a big deal. And I'm just like, man, I just need my money back, man. Like, I got stiffed. 3 weeks later, I get a FedEx thing in the mail. And this is the first time in my life I've ever had a FedEx package, a letter, had my name on it. I'm like, oh, what could this be? And it was from New York City. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to open this up. I open it up, and there's this letter in it. And it says, we want you to come to New York City. All expenses paid. We're going to get the rest of your saxophone paid for completely. You're going to stay in the Park Central Hotel. A black car limousine is going to pick you up from the airport. And this letter was from Judge Hatchett, courtroom television. Judge Hatchett. And I told my mom and dad, I said, Ma, we're going to be on TV. Look at this letter. We're going to New York. We're going to be on TV. My mom looks at me. Boy, we not going on no white trash television. I said, what are you talking about? There's going to be the big city, the big apple. We're going to be famous and we're going to get my money back. And it was the most difficult thing convincing my parents because I was a minor. So I had to get my father to go on the show with me. And he's the most quiet, shy human being on earth. Won't even go to like a basketball game. Too many people. And I need him to go on television with me. And I convinced him. To go on TV. And I didn't know at the time. I didn't have a measuring stick of how embarrassing it would be. The footage exists out there somewhere. But when we get up in front of the judge, Judge Hatchett said, you wrote this contract? I said, yeah. I got my little suit on, This is CEO Charlie live in the flesh, live on TV. She said, you wrote this contract? I said, yeah. She said, you write better contracts than some attorneys I know. And I said, yeah. I sold him my saxophone. I made a contract, and all I want is my money. And they ended up paying me my portion, and I had a free trip to New York, and I fell in love with New York. And it was that was the beginning. That was the real beginning of CEO Charlie right there. I knew I was going to do something. So
does that mean you believe in contracts? Because if you didn't have that contract, you probably wouldn't have been able to go.
I believe contracts are good for some things. You're buying a house, contract.
Well, I believe contracts are good for anything.
I think if you're providing a service,
it's the term that I dispute. By the way, so like if you say, hey, I want light speed, there is quote unquote contract. We call it an agreement though, because I hate the word contract. The term is what I'm talking about. I got rid of term. Like there ain't no 6-year contract. Like, dude, it's a month-to-month agreement that we have here. You agree to pay, we agree to leave you on. We're going to help you. You pay, everybody's happy. You don't pay, we're separating.
If it's a service, And if I'm not doing a job that you, like I had somebody one time owe me a bunch of money. And it got to a point where I got tired of chasing them. And I said, you know what? Keep your money. I don't want it. If you don't want to pay me, I don't want it. Because I don't want that bad energy. You hand that money over to me and now it's all this connected bad energy between us. I don't even want to put it in my bank account. You go. And I moved on. So if it's a service, I'm like you. You can leave. I don't want your money if you don't want to give it to me. But if it's like a house or a car or something, I think contracts are meant, or the terms of the contracts
I
are very
advise
important.
people to get contracts, put it in writing regardless of who it is. Your dad wants to do something like that, get an agreement.
You know what's interesting? David Geffen, one of the most powerful men in the history of all entertainment and music, he never did contracts. He signed Bob Dylan. He started off with contracts and he realized this is stupid.
Because you're going to have to sue anyway.
Exactly.
And dude, that's a lot of times when people sue, you're going to get less back than it cost you to sue.
Yeah. Just start a new project and you'll make more money anyways. Moving on to the new thing instead of dwelling on the old.
Well, I agree with that, but I still recommend contracts, folks. If you're listening to OBL, if you're taking any coaching from me, I would say get it in writing. You don't need to freaking trust people when it's in writing. Mm-hmm. People say, man, you don't trust me, dog? I'm your brother. I'm your dad. I'm your cousin. I'm your friend. Then what's the problem with putting it in writing?
That's right.
Because when the money starts flowing, the memory be going. That's what happens.
It is.
Dude, it happened here. Like, you know, when the company wasn't doing nothing, man, we didn't need no agreement. Mm-mm. But then when the money starts flowing in a little bit, and all of a sudden people's memories start going bad. Well, wasn't I supposed to? Well, weren't you supposed to? Well, that's not what I was supposed to do. Remember we was talking that one night? No, dude, let's refer to the agreement. See, the agreement, look, what's that say? So I highly recommend agreements. But you know, trust you don't need if you have an agreement. Like this is what the agreement says. That's cool. Now, when you want to renegotiate, hey, this ain't working out between us. Good, let's sit down and renegotiate. But until then, there's the agreement right there. I got your agreement right here.
That's right.
You can't recollect? I got your recollection right here. But you're right, dude. Suing's stupid.
Yeah, man.
All right, so quick question. Out of all the things you got going on, what's the one thing you want the Bomb Squad, those are my listeners, to do for you? Like if they can go download your podcast, if they can buy your book when it comes out, if they can get you a speaking gig, what's the one thing we can do to help you?
Why does it have to be one? All right, I'm going to go through the laundry list. Okay, first thing, if you want me to come speak at your corporation, hit me up, or your school.
Where do they hit you?
On Instagram or my website, charliejavely.com, or Google. You can find me. It's not hard to find me. The second thing, I do want you to go check out my podcast. I just released it 3 days ago. It is doing pretty well. People said they like my perspective, so maybe you'll like it too. Check that out. And I will have a book coming out this year called The Life and Death of CEO Charlie. It's already written. I'm just trying to decide if I want to do a publishing deal or do it myself. I'm leaning towards myself because publishing companies remind me a lot of record labels, and I don't like record labels. So I'm thinking I'm going to do it myself. So I'm going to need everybody's support. If you believe in me, please come find me. Please support me, and I talk back. So if you need help, hit me up, just like how Brad does.
Hit him in the DM. At Charlie, ain't hard to find. Buddy, man. I appreciate you coming here. I'm sure we'll be talking more in the future. And if you want that catchphrase, because it's original, I'll sign it over to you right now in exchange for helping me figure out a few of my stories. Lessons. Yeah, they're really good, man. But I want to get the best lesson, because it ain't about the story, it's about the lesson, to help people learn that lesson through me rather than going out and making the same mistakes. People say, wise men learn from their mistakes. Well, I say geniuses learn from other people's mistakes. Like you ain't got to have the same pain. If you have the pain and you have the story, boom, why I got to go learn the hard way? Anyway, folks, or Charlie, thanks for coming in. I will reach out to anybody that hits him up, #Bomb Squad, and maybe we'll do some sort of, like when your book's out, maybe I'll buy 100 copies and give them out to whoever hits you up and follows you. Just make sure we know it. Charlie, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Brad.
Folks, go out and share, tag, and rate this podcast. As you know, we are the #1 podcast on Earth.
Earth?
I say it all the time.
Earth.
We have like 7 billion downloads per episode. There's like 16 tribesmen in Zimbabwe or some shit that I can't reach. So if you share it out and tag people, it will end up being the only podcast on the planet that is downloaded by every human being on Earth. And that would be very good for me and the Earth. So I appreciate you sharing and rating and spreading the love. Till next time, kids.